Generally speaking, yeah, I would say that the spirit of Ray Strong is present here and in any area that he loved to paint. You know, it's a funny thing when he would see his paintings, he would kind of rub his hands over it and always gave me the impression that he was reading the painting in the riches of the paint, that he would be like like the grooves of a record player, like he could get out not the sound but the experience of painting, the experience of being there, being alive, being in nature, being moved by nature. I think that he could get that from his paintings, and he always also said that the interaction is like you're taking something in, but something of you is going to the place. So that's why I feel, you know, that Ray's spirit is here. I mean, you can see his hair in those wispy clouds. Yeah, it's strong. He was very in tune with the life forces, you know, with the vitality of the earth, pushing the grass up and all that stuff. He would just poetically see it and express it.
Well, I've made it better. Not perfect, but I've made it better. Well, this is getting where there's actually some stuff. Some stuff in the foreground that needs to be edited, but I think it's getting there. Yeah, meeting Ray was like, honestly, it gave me my life. I mean, I would probably have been relatively happy making a bunch of money with job security. But Ray said, well, he told me once, he said, you know, if you choose to be a painter, you will be poor, but you will be happy. I went, okay, that makes sense to me. I think I'll do that. So I did.
I met Ray in 1990, and I was running Gallery 113, which was the co-op that he and two other artists founded. First of all, he's known as the Dean of Santa Barbara Landscape Painters. And I was just pretty much starting out plein-air then. So it was a great reward to go to him, and just his vivid blue eyes looking right at you and just all positive, but yet giving you solid suggestions. And he'd speak in metaphors too, so that made it more poetic.
I think maybe teaching was his real gift in a certain way. I mean, he was very generous in his judgments, and he very encouraging. So no matter what awful thing you were doing, he would find something good to say about it. He could find some square inch that he wanted to tell you was good. It's just good. One of the things that was consistently wonderful was that he was a consistently wonderful artist. You know, he knew how to be an artist, and he really he was. Start to finish, which was great, absolutely great. So I felt lucky.
And then what Ray gave me was raw sienna. He said one day, he said, you know, you don't have raw sienna on your palette. I go, oh. He said, it looks like baby poop. I said, yes. He said, it's the color of sun. I went, oh, okay. He said, look at the, like he pointed to a cloud. Look at the rim of light on that cloud. That's raw sienna lifted with white. Look at the light on the ocean. Okay. A lot of it was taken on faith. I couldn't see the stuff at first, you know. I really couldn't.
He called it, where does the blue begin? Because as with the atmosphere, depending on the atmosphere of the day, the objects get lighter and bluer as they recede. And so it was more of like he's teaching you how to see as well as how to paint. And so it wasn't just walking on paintings, it was more about observing the world and understanding geology. And if he paints grass, he says, I'm painting the mantle first. So he's painting the green grass, kind of a red ochre. And he has that world sense that this is not just grass in the springtime, it's an earth, and it's rolling, and the heat of the earth is underneath all this cool grass, so he paints the heat of the earth first, and that underpainting shows through, so it has that sense of awareness of the earth itself, and not just the surface of the earth.
How in the hell do you get volume into a painting? You get volume in a painting by thinking substance. How you get substance is to think it, feel it, but go in underneath the temporary surface of the subject, of the grass, whatever season, and underpaint it with different values of iron oxide, yellow, orange, red, and violet. And then put your grass on top of it, and don't overdo the surface. And you finally get something that kind of be a testament to the artist wanting to get substance. Now, of course, nationally, we want more of that in everybody's life.
I love the painting. It's gorgeous.
The painting is a wonderful profession.
I've never met anybody who lived more seamlessly than Ray Strong. You know, he just, who he was, I mean, what you saw is exactly what you got. It's just how he lived, which was life-affirming. How he loved the country that he lived in is clear from his paintings. Right? You look at his paintings; they're odes to space and volume and living things and skies and ocean and stretches of land and just. And he chose to live the rest of his life, came back from New York, from the Art Students League, and lived out west. And then he, thankfully, came to Santa Barbara, I think it was in the mid-60s, to start doing the dioramas. How lucky were we?
Painted a sketch on galvanized metal looking down on Sedgwick's ranch, of which the golden eagle foreground would have a nest, and we used a formation of rock in a descending V to suggest the drop of about 600 feet to the digger pines below for the illusion of being up in the nest with the eagle. It's my favorite in the room. The birds are sculptural, the rocks are sculptural. They're not lost in that great big expanse of the shorebirds at Goleta. Those poor little sanderlings and sandpipers are just hummingbirds.
Ray Strong was in favor of painting for a purpose, and that goes counter to the idea after Impressionists of art for art's sake. It's not art for art's sake, it's art for soul's sake, and the soul's sake is rooted in the land and the open spaces. So it's ultimately it's art for the land's sake. So he was visiting here in Carp, and we started talking about this book that we both were reading. It was the
Depths of Glory, the life of Pizarro and his wife, and Cézanne and Gauguin and others coming down and painting with him. And Arturo said, oh, I've just been reading the same book. And a couple seconds later, he said, why couldn't we make a group and have a group like that here? And I said, well, why not?
The story of Pizarro is really cool. He was the wiser old man that befriended different people that eventually became the Impressionists. And you know, they had very strong personalities, and not likely that they would coalesce into a group. But Pizarro was a gentle, you know, level-headed guy, and he kept the group together as a group. And I told Ray, well, Ray, you have the same thing going here. You have a group of students and friends that you like to go painting with. And, you know, we have certain times we have shows, but how about if we formalize that and organize into a group?
I said, we're not Gauguins and Cézannes, but sure. And so we said, well, what do we call it? And I said, well, it'd be nice to tie in with the strength of the trunk and the branching, the weight-carrying thing of the oak tree, and we'll go out and paint right directly from nature, and we're going to paint for the preservation, artist as preservationist. So that's how it started.
Definitely he had the spirit of preservation, you know, rooted in him. As he said, rooted and reaching. At the time, there were some urgent things happening in Santa Barbara County. A lot of places like this, Carpinteria Bluffs, were under threat of development. And we had a show at the Museum of Natural History where we featured places that we love to go painting, but each one of those places had plans for development. And so we started with the idea, we love these places and we're risking losing them, and they're jewels for our separate communities. And so we call them endangered landscapes.
We've raised a lot of money for these organizations, you know, the local ones, Environmental Defense Center and Land Trust, but I think it's the visual awareness of these places as being beautiful unto themselves, you know, without any further orchestration, that's a really beautiful barn, that's a really beautiful rock, that's a beautiful beach, that, you know.
Using art as a tool to raise awareness, that was definitely one of the things that the Oak Group was very interested in doing, and I have to say we've been pretty effective. When we started, I don't know how many landscape painters there were in Santa Barbara, and now there are literally hundreds, which people have mixed feelings about that. I myself think it's wonderful. One of the interesting things about it too is that, of course, a lot of the people who support our work and who buy, you know, paintings at the shows and all of that, they are committed to these places. They love them, and that's why they want to have pieces from them. It is an active deal, you know, and that's one reason you want to get the paintings out there, they have kind of a numismatic effect. Just their presence, just the idea that somebody valued it enough to do it, right? It's important.
We definitely have had an impact. We can't claim to have done it, but we were an element that helped to do it, because a lot of our images became icons of the places that we were trying to protect, and that always helps. You know, when you go to a hearing and there's all these studies and all these papers and stuff, it's like the place itself has no voice, but a lot of time through our art there was like a voice for that place, and a strong illustration of the aesthetic values that we, you know, the community supported and was in favor of not losing.
I would say he was the inspiring force. And then he and Arturo got together and decided to create the group. But definitely without Ray, I don't know if it would have happened. And we still talk about him all the time at meetings or whenever we're together. Kind of like, what would Ray do? We had one show at Sullivan Goss for our 30th anniversary, and we were trying to decide on the beneficiary. And so what would Ray do? Well, he loved to teach, and we always have causes be environmental preservation, but we decided in that case to raise funds for the Student Art Fund so that all the high school students in the city can get supplies and get teachers and be painting, and he would have loved that.
He asked me to give him to print him a flyer for a retrospective show that he was calling Along the Way, and a lot of little small paintings and some larger ones, but he didn't have a title for the card. And I came to his house and says, how would you sum it up, Ray? And he says, life, landscape, and light. And that's what it was.
His legacy with us was just his love of painting your experience, your time, your community, and being, as an artist, being a contributing member of a community. So he was very much in favor of having, as an artist, having a place that improves your community's life and experience.
On the spot, you see it, and from what you see, well, what can I make this thing get the essence of it in paint? And you say to yourself, my gosh, I've only got a straight line and a curved line, and there's proportions here, and there's rhythms here, and how in the heck can I make this thing sing? And that's the kind of thing that I'd like to pass on to the students who come to me, is to value their own responses. Be true to what you see and feel and hear, and float in to the image making that you're doing. Above all else, be true to yourself and to nature.